What up? What up? What up? You're not getting one of those countdowns. You're not getting one of those freaking super cool intros with music in the background and all of that shit. We're not doing that today. All right, guys, this your boy Antoine from High Desert Pythons, and I know we haven't done a live in a long time, but I figured this would be a fun debate to do. I got a couple of friends here that's going to talk about their preferences of Norway rats versus ASFs or whatever you guys call them. I call them Norway rats because I think that's what they're called, right? Or regular fucking rats. But whenever we say rats,
Rats.
that's what we mean. We're gonna say rats in the ASFs. So if you guys are new to the channel and have not been here and you're in the ball pythons, first off, shame on you. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share it with your friends so everybody knows where to come in this channel and when the new shit is popping up. And without further ado, let's get this thing started. But first, I got on my panel up top, I got Anna from AK Morphs. Thank you for being here, and she will be on Team ASF. I got my man Scott Wilkinson from Scott Wilkinson Reptiles, who will be on Team Rats. And to my bottom corner, I got Will Morose from Royal Canadian Reptiles on Team ASF as well. Mike from Insane Clown Pythons should be in here any minute now for Team Rats. I don't know where he is, and I can't answer my phone right now because I got it on Do Not Disturb. So, first off, before we get into that, um, I've been doing ASFs for a while now, but I haven't been doing them long enough to have a big enough sample size to compare the nutritional value and how they, how I produce my animals with them versus regular rats. So I don't really have a dog in the fight now. I just kind of have what I see. And eventually I do plan on producing them and going full time with ASFs as well as having a couple other rats, when I have some problem feeders to kind of just adjust from here and there. I think it's good to have both. But like I said, I'm not really too sure sold on it either way. And I'm hoping that my friends here can sway me one way or another as far as which way to go with these animals. So before we get into that, I just want to kind of go around the room a little bit. We'll go Anna, then Scott, then Will. Just talk about who you are, how long you've been doing reptiles for, and how many seasons you've been doing one versus the other, okay?
Fuck. Um, I'm Anna. Been doing ball pythons for 5 years now, 4 seasons going into 2024. And I've been breeding ASFs for 4 years. And they're the best rodent for ball pythons.
Yeah, hi, I'm Scott. I've been doing ball pythons for about 24. So almost 24 years. Breeding rodents probably for 30 plus years now. Bred a small amount of multis, but predominantly rats. Produce about 80,000 rats a year. And this, I guess, is my 20-something season on ball pythons.
I'm Will. I've been breeding ball pythons for, I think this is year 15 or 16, something like that. I've been producing rats for about 13 of those years, and now strictly ASS.
Awesome. All right. So, Scott, so have you done ASS before at all or no? Any experience with them?
I've bred ASS years back. I was breeding them. I enjoyed them. I mean, they've certainly got some advantages when it comes to breeding a rodent. I don't know what it's like over in North America there, but there is definitely a couple of different strains of ASFs available. For anybody over in Europe, ASFs multi-mammates multis as well is the other name for them. Yeah, there's a couple of strains, and the original strain I had was highly aggressive, borderline psychopathic. You would walk up to the cage, and these little monsters would jump at the bars to try and rip your fingers off. So yeah, I mean, I actually took some to a pet shop to sell them as pets years and years, like almost 20 years ago. Handed them over. I got really good money for them, and the young assistant went to put them away and put them in a cage. She come back absolutely covered in blood. They'd bitten her to bits. And yeah, needless to say, I wasn't able to sell any more of those. But now I'm just, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of 100% rats now. I've got a small amount ticking over just to play with.
So do you guys have an accurate weight in grams, like with like the maximum size adults would feed to like an adult ball python as far as a regular rat, and then you have the same thing for ASFs as well. Like, what's the largest you guys go?
Well, I mean, I will feed ex-breeder rats to my females. Not regularly. I mean, I try and sell my ex-breeders. Generally, they're worth far more to sell them to somebody else than using them for a prey item. But I will feed. They will take an 1,800 gram ball python will take an adult rat. Not all of them, and it is risky because you can scare the snake into not wanting to feed for a little while if you intimidate them with a too big a rat. But they will take it.
And then so you do live, correct?
I feed.
Okay.
I feed live, yeah.
And is everybody here live or frozen thawed or pre-killed or?
I'm live.
I do both.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's yeah, I mean for actual feeding wise, I feed anything from a weaner that is half the size of an adult ASF all the way up to adult rats. It all depends on my availability on what I've produced. So in the winter season, I'm chasing rodents. So I'm struggling to produce quite the amount I need. So I'm generally feeding smaller prey items. In the summer, I may be on, I guess most people would call a small rat.
Now, depending on the time of year, is your production different? I guess depending on summer or winter.
Yeah, I mean, so over here in the UK, it's not horrific like Canada. Will's inside a house and he's wearing a jumper. Look, I mean, he's indoors. How the hell do you need that indoor? And mind you, actually, all of you are wearing hoodies and stuff. What's going on?
I'm anemic. I'm allowed to.
What's that? Look, mind you, I'm the only one in the snake room.
You're in a snake room. I was just going to say.
I'm sweating. I am sweating already. Yeah, so production really drops off in the winter from November through to maybe March, end of March.
So at what, like, as far as like, what's the highest temperature do you think your rats maybe stop producing or have the most issues at? Like, how high can you get them?
They don't really stop producing. If it gets too high, you'll kill them more than they'll slow down. I mean, my rodent building is, I mean, it's insulated now, but previously, if it got too hot, I'd quite often have the top layer of all the cages would overheat and die off. I've solved that problem now with fully insulated, and I have five extractor fans running that literally, I can't remember how many cubic meters or cubic yards of air they rotate, but if you struggle to open the door when the fan's on. The airflow is insane during the summer. I have all five fans on, so it maintains a reasonable temperature, but I don't know what the maximum is. It's hot in there. It gets hot, but
now on the low side, so like in the winter months too, is that better for them, right? Like where you are, or because you can like add bedding or kind of do better insulation?
No, because I still need good airflow. So it's still when I'm cleaning them out, I will be wearing several layers and a hoodie. Generally, I put Will's hoodie on that he gave me when I'm doing the rodents.
Right.
I don't want to wear a nice one.
So the ASFs, they prefer warmer temperatures, right? So like as far as production wise. So sometimes I know some people keep ASFs with their ball pythons and they do well. Like they have a small operation and they'll keep them in like mid 80s, whatever. A lot of people say the closer to 90 you get in their room, the better. You guys want to dispel that or provide some more information as far as like temperature for ASFs?
Anna, you can take this one. I've had great success keeping them around 75 Fahrenheit.
Okay, so Will's 75, and I want to go back to Scott's point where he said when he first had ASFs before, they're different lines. There's 5 lines of ASFs. Depending on which line you have, will determine what temperature you can breed at. My ASFs will breed from 68 to 70, but if I go above 72, my production drops. and I'm in Texas. So when the wintertime comes around, my rodents will produce more. And when summertime comes around, I have to have an AC unit in the window to make sure that things at 68 to make sure I have no issues with my rodents. So it really determines on the line that you get for your ASFs and who you're getting them from to determine what temperature you are. Now, people in Houston who are 2 hours away, their ASFs won't breed unless it's 75 to 78 degrees. You have people in Tennessee whose ASFs won't breed unless it's 70 to 72. It all determines where you get your lines from and where you're at.
Is there any way of identifying those lines?
Yes and no. If you are on Facebook and you're in the African software breeder group, we had this massive discussion about lines a couple of months back before, and we were going through wild caught to domestic production versus line breeding certain rodents to captive bred rodents to a wild. And it just went down a big rabbit hole, really.
Hey, stay
But
real quick. Hey, Mike, if you're watching the video, it won't let you in the studio with your camera turned off. It's saying your camera's off. So you got to turn the camera and mic back on. And every time I try to click onto you, it won't let me because it's saying the camera and mic isn't on. So, all right, sorry about that.
You can go, like, if you look at North America, you'll see that there's 3 separate lines in North America. And I think there's 2 overseas for you in Europe. I think one of them is more to the West Europe. And then you have the Germans who have their own set of lines as well.
But there's no way of visually identifying them.
No, I mean, the visually European ASFs are a little bit smaller. Their tails are smaller. Their ears are a little bit bigger than North American rodents because there are Europeans that are in that Facebook group. And when they do post ASFs, if you get used to them quite a bit, you can tell the subtle differences, but you really have to know what you're looking for.
Okay, so we will chalk this one up as 1-0 to rats for being less complicated on... Okay, so that's 1-0 to rats so far. Anton, you've got to keep scores, okay? Simplicity.
So let's talk about
rats.
availability. Is there anywhere in Europe where rats are illegal?
No.
So they're all across the world. What about ASFs? Can you have ASFs everywhere?
Yeah. At the moment, yeah.
You can't have them in Italy.
Well, okay. As far as I know, I mean, yes.
It's
getting worse. And actually, it wouldn't surprise me. There's I know Holland, the Netherlands. They've got a list.
Mm-hmm.
In the Netherlands now, they've got a list of animals they're allowed to keep, and hamsters are not on that list. So I don't know whether ASFs are on that list in Holland, but it's getting crazy in terms of restrictions and laws for keeping animals now.
So as far as I know, in the States, there isn't a place where you can't have rats. Does Anna do anything about that? I don't know any states where you can't have rats, but do you have a list of the states where you can't have ASFs and live or pre-killed or frozen?
There's a province in Canada where you're not allowed live rats.
Which one?
Alberta.
No kidding.
You're not allowed live rats. They've gone through a lot of effort to eradicate rats. I don't know how they did it, but apparently Alberta is a rat-free province, and you're not allowed to breed live rats. Huge fines for breeding live rats. Norwegians, like standard rats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they can feed frozen. A lot of those guys do frozen, but not live rats.
And then for ASFs, I know California is one of them. Georgia's another one.
Yep.
Virginia, I believe.
Nope.
Virginia's not one of them.
No, it is. It is. Sorry.
Yes, Virginia.
Virginia.
Nevada too, I believe.
Yep, Nevada is one. You got.
Okay, so where you're going with this, Antoine, is 2-0 to rats due to regulations and hassle. Okay, Team Rat for the win.
So Anna, what I'll do is when I repost this video, I'll post that link to the group for people that want to get into ASF, so figure out the legality in their states on it too. So I'll post that link in the description as well. Okay. Hold on, I got another chat. How can I open the mic in camera?
For those who also want to know the other states, it's Alabama, Kentucky, Missouri, Massachusetts, and Oregon.
So what's that? How many states is that in total? Was that at least 15, wasn't it?
It was 9.
15.
9. Okay, 9.
15.
All right, so almost 20% of America, they're banned. Okay.
20%. That's so crazy.
I'm going to chalk that as 3-0.
It's 2-0.
Let's try it
2-0.
one more
We'll stick on
time,
2-0.
Mike.
Yeah, okay. I'll go with that.
I mean, where do you want to start giving points to ASFs on? We can go smell.
Smell.
Let's go.
I'll concede
Nope.
that one. Smell.
Simplicity of the breeding. I think it's way more simple. You don't have to pull pregnant females and sort which. Oh, she just gave birth and she got the colony breed. You just pull hoppers. Super easy.
But you don't know. I won't concede that. You don't have to do that with rats.
You don't have to, but I mean it.
Well, so that's the end of that. Then you don't have to. You just agreed.
If you want good production, it's you don't have to, I guess, but you should be.
No. Production is better if you leave the male with the females. You get that second breeding straight away.
I just had, I guess I ran fairly dense colonies, so I was just getting if I had a female give birth in a rat bin, they just got trampled and
yeah. You need to bring the numbers down. So I've just done 18 years of breeding and pulling the pregnant females out.
Doing maternity breeding, yeah.
Maternity breeding, and I've just switched now, so I've just gone a full year back to 1.2s and 1.3s.
Yeah.
And it's
my biggest argument really for the ASS, like to be totally honest, I don't really care what anybody feeds their snakes. You can feed them ham sandwiches for all I care, but my big thing was that it cut down my cleaning and the space required to produce numbers by like huge amounts. I have currently 400 colonies of ASFs, and I have 400 colonies on about 24 feet of wall. For me to do 400 colonies of rats to produce similar kind of numbers, it would have taken.
So how many ASFs do you harvest a week?
About 1,400.
About 1,400. Okay.
At a 24 feet of wall, which is fairly efficient. I figure
that's good. That's a good number.
Yeah, I figure for every 50 series, every 10 series Freedom Breeder or ARS rack that has 50 colonies, I'm pulling approximately 175 to 200 per week.
So how many feet? Sorry,
you're 100% independent, but yourself, right? On your racks, you don't buy no outsourcing.
Correct. Actually, I have too many. I'm getting rid of some.
And for how many snakes?
Oh, I don't know. 800 or so.
800, okay.
Yeah. There are some definite benefits to rats. One of the things I didn't really like about rats was, well, one, they stink. Like they're nasty. They stink, and they were always like, you'd bring a bin of rats into the room, and then the snake room smells like rat shit for like 2 days. They're like, oh, fuck this. And so I was just like, this. It just, The one thing I don't like about rats is we are always, when we feed an adult ball python, we're always feeding a juvenile rodent. As a general rule, most people feed up to about 120 grams. That's kind of where up to about 150 grams is where I draw the line with what I'm going to feed an adult ball python. And a rat at 90, especially your grow up stuff at 30, 40, 50, 60 grams, those are essentially, they're basically full of milk still. They're not even a developed rat really. And with the ASFs, by the time I get them to 40 or 50 grams, now that's
they're grandparents.
They're decent size. When I feed off retired breeders, I'm finding average weights of about 130 grams for an ASF. The biggest I've seen is 168 out of a big male. And I have pictures of them on the scale. And most people, when I tell them, they're like, there's no way.
Weight was testicles.
What's that? Yeah.
20% of that weight was probably testicles.
Yeah. But I've switched completely over. I will never go back. There's been a lot of learning. Basically, I talked to Anna for a whole bunch of this, and then just took what she said and did it, big. And for me to produce 1,400 rats, like Norwegians a week, the amount of work required in that is just, it's absurd. It's like, you want 2 people going, that's like, oh my God, man. I was producing like 500 Norwegians a week and was like, I hate this. And going to the ASFs, my workload has gone down by, like 70%. Like the room's cleaner, the room smells better.
Sorry, Will, how many female ASFs are you running?
Each bin's got 4 females, and I have 400 bins.
So 1,600.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're getting 0.9, less than 1 for 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's working great. Like I am actually at the point where like I don't know what to do with the weans. Like there's so many weans coming out of those bins every week, and right now I'm in the situation where I retire a rack every 3 weeks because I give them 5 months of breeding, and then once they've had that 5 months, what I do is I set up a full rack, brand new colonies. Once I see the first litter in that rack, the clock starts 5 months, and that rack has 5 months. Once it hits the 5 months, everything's fed out, and because I have 7 racks, it ends up being every 3 weeks. And basically, every 3 weeks I go and I feed out, 250, 140, 130 gram ASFs.
Do you feed them off even if they're pregnant?
Yep.
Yeah, you just
I don't bother waiting around. There's they once you get them rolling, the ASFs have a really long curve to get going, but once you crest that curve, they just like skyrocket. It just the argument has always been for most people has been, well, they take so long to grow, and I totally understand that argument. It's I can get with rats, I was able to get 70 gram rats within 5 weeks, where within 5 weeks of an ASF, they're like 25 grams. And so the ASFs definitely take longer to get that same weight. But because they produce so many, it's that initial buildup. Once you're past that initial buildup, you just have rats all the time at any given time. I generally tend to keep about 400 females growing up at any time. And if for whatever reason you feed out a rack, boom, you just fill a rack right up again, pop 50 males in, and
are you 1 male to 4 females?
Yeah, 1.4s. Right. Yeah. I don't mess around with trying to put a new male back in. If they kill the male, that colony gets fed out. There's no like trying to save the colony. I just feed it out, set up a new colony.
The ones you feed off, Will, you said they're about 170 grams, like an
adult? Biggest I've ever seen was 168. Okay. But I would say average is about 130.
So for all you, let's say you have a breeder female, right? And let's say she's 2,000 grams, right around there. So talk about how often, and let's just say it's in between her season. So no follicles at all. Maybe you're building her up to get ready for the fall or something like that too. And just like a normal feeding schedule, you're not trying to put weight back on her or just trying to maintain her. How often would you feed her, and what size do you go with like that if you got 2,000 gram female?
I offer every week. Okay. I offer every week, and adult females, they get 1 ASF a week. If they're building and they keep coming, those girls where you feed them and then next time you open the tub, they're still flying right back out. Yeah, I'll feed them again. But just like midsummer, fall time, I just one ASF a week, 80 grams to 120 gram, that kind of range, that type of meal.
How about you, Anna?
For me, I feed every snake once a week, male or female. Now the adult max weight on an ASF female is 130 grams, and the males are 140. Jumbo ASFs can get up to 180. 180 to 200 being the highest really before they go into more medical issues. But I actually will feed off adult males to my male ball pythons, and I'll take either an adult and a subadult ASF and give it to my breeder females that are going this season. Or I'll offer 2 subadults. I'll offer more meals for ASFs when I feed them, because the nutritional value that you get from ASFs when they're growing up will produce what I consider a healthier clutch, because I've had no issues moving from rats to ASFs when I've offered more different sizes to my females when it comes to that.
Now, for feeding your colonies, do you guys use just commercial block, or do your own blend of things, or you have like a proprietary blend? And what are you guys feeding your animals?
Cat food.
Dog food.
I do. So I put on the tops of the racks, I put the standard rat food, standard rat block. But when I set up a new colony, they all get a cup of cat food, a cup of whole corn, and a cup of like a bird seed mix. And I put it right into the bin with them, and they forage in the bin, and that's always completely cleaned up before they even touch the lab block.
Yep.
And I used to do one hard-boiled egg a week into each colony. That I think that really helps females with litters, but it did become a bit of a pain in the ass to hard boil 400 eggs a week.
So for the cat food and dog food for the rats and Anna, and for you, Scott, is it just because you find better results with it, or is it more economical? What's the reasoning behind that? Not going with like Missouri, or what's the other one? I can't fucking pronounce it. Camback, blah blah, whatever.
I use Combat.
The availability of a commercial diet here is not readily available. But I mean, I've used dog biscuit now for 25 years. I calculated the other day I've used over 26 truckloads of dog biscuit in the last 7 years. So quite a lot of dog biscuit, but it's economical. It's a high protein dog biscuit. I get no issues with production or health of the rodent.
That's funny because I don't even feed my dogs dog food.
Well, it's funny. I used to feed my dog an expensive dog biscuit. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we're all made to feel guilty to buy the most expensive dog biscuit you can get for your dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas this is the cheapest brand of dog biscuit I can buy by the pallet load. And my dog always comes in the rodent room and just starts eating the cheap biscuit. So she now gets the cheap biscuit. I don't buy any of that expensive stuff anymore. It's the same protein levels. It's really not much different other than the packaging.
Scott, do you find any like medical issues feeding dog food to your rats? Do you find tumors and whatnot?
You do get tumors in rodents, but I mean, I don't know what a natural percentage of tumors would be. There's very few tumors overall. Maybe if I keep adults for over a year, you'll get a higher percentage of tumors in the adults, but not noticeable.
Anna, how many litters do you have for female before you retire?
I actually don't count litters. I go off of how the rat looks. I go off of their fur.
If you had to guess though, like if you what do you think?
She'd probably give me 15, 20 litters before I release her.
Okay.
So a lot of people will go and count litters, and nothing against it. I think it's stupid as shit, but there's nothing against people who do it. But when you go and start feeding off healthy ASFs that you don't really need to, Will's an exception because, you know, he has them lined up 400 to go, boom, 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 boom. But if you're just starting off and you see people talking about ASFs and, you know, they're going good and you've got production going and you decide you're going to start feeding off your feeders because your adult ball pythons need it, that's the dumbest thing you can do, because you only get the most out of that rat as long as it hits that old age limit. So once it retires, what I consider retire is when the fur is no longer soft. You can tell the difference between a new baby, young, subadult, adult, and grandma and grandpa over here because the fur just looks wet. That's when you should retire your ASFs to get rid of them. They've served their purpose. Financially, they've served their purpose. I see people in here asking still about food for ASFs. I feed multi-cat food. Financially, it's at Tractor Supply. Then I chose multi-cat food over the dog food because it did give me a higher percentage of protein, and people are asking about tumors. The reason you get more tumors in your lines of rodents using Missouri or whatever it is, it's because of the protein content. The more protein you have in whatever animal you have, whether it be a dog, cat, horse, cow, pig, whatever, higher protein levels will lead more to higher tumors. That's just how it's going to be. And I can say that with facts since my stepmom's a veterinarian and I've had to grow up and listen to this all throughout my life about protein. Now, if you mix in, let's say you're doing half a cup of cat food every day to your ASF, Mix in greens, mix in different proteins like you do with boiled eggs, or Vaughn Project gives his rodents fish, gives them tuna or salmon or something. Mix up the protein level so they get that different nutrition going into their bodies. And the more mix you have in nutrition, the less likely you'll have medical issues down the road.
I shall go and boil some eggs up.
If I have a rat with a medical issue, it's gone. Instant. Like the ASFs sometimes will get those warts on them. If I see them, that colony's gone. It's just I do have a bit of a luxury here where I have a gazillion of them. So it took me 2 years to build to that point. But now that we're at that point, I look at a colony and it, doesn't look right. It's gone. I just put a brand new colony together.
Zero tolerance.
Yeah.
What are you guys seeing as far as like the snake's overall utilization and absorption of the prey item? So like a rat versus ASF, like are the poops any different? Do you see anything like that? So what are you saying as far as that goes, like afterwards?
I feed both, right? So quarter of my collection eats ASFs. The rest all eat rats. The quarter, I feel like the animals that I feed ASFs to that were previously on rats, and then for my own choice switching to ASFs, I feel like they look healthier. I feel like they absorb more. I don't feel like there's a ton of shit. It's somewhat hard for me to put into words, and maybe Will or Anna can know what I'm talking about a little bit here and be a little more smart than I am. But I feel like I get a healthier ball python out of the ASS, and if I could get my numbers up, I would probably switch. And Will and I have talked about this. I mean, and Will, I hope I'm not throwing out anything I shouldn't here, but I know Will feeds like you feed rats to the animals you have for sale.
Correct.
Right. So like that's the thing that I would probably do as well, because I know it's industry somewhat standard. But if I could feed my whole collection ASS, I probably would.
So
yeah, I have been now for 2 years, my own personal stuff, and man, I would never go back. Never go back.
So Will, I mean, I think everybody will agree that breeding ASFs is less smell, less work overall. I believe they eat less biscuit, less food.
I think they do, yeah.
With what I'm using, I seem to think they drink less water than a standard rat. So I will concede that breeding ASFs is a more pleasant experience.
Yeah? 1 point.
Yeah, should we go with that? I'll agree with that. Absolutely. I mean, I've bred a reasonable amount of ASFs, but I'd absolutely I'd concede and agree with that. But what I don't see any evidence of is once you come out of that rodent room and start using them for females, or sorry, males or females, doesn't matter. But I don't see anything that is a game changer in any way. No one's ever told me anything different that I see with rats at all. And I understand what Troy's saying, but I guarantee that if you show Troy a selection of snakes that have been exclusively ASFs and exclusively rats, you would not be able to tell the difference.
I would.
I think there's some. I think there. Scott. I think I somewhat agree, but I also feel like there are some subtle differences between like the snakes that I have side by side, that one eats rats and one eats ASFs.
I would say I've seen subtle differences between snakes kept on paper and snakes kept on a particle substrate. Yeah, and I've seen differences between snakes fed on defrost and snakes fed on live, and that's body tone and body condition.
Sure.
Yeah?
The only thing that I could add to that would be, I for a long time experienced that 1,000-gram wall, that where I would feed a snake up to that 1,000-gram range, and then it was shut down for months. And didn't matter what I offered it, didn't matter what I would do, wouldn't eat. 4 months go by, back on food, catches back up with the rest. I now have 140 girls that I've raised exclusively on ASFs, and dude, out of 140 feedings, I literally, two won't eat.
Okay, but the most important thing out of all that, Will, is when those snakes hatched to when you got a first clutch.
What's that?
What was the time period from when those snakes hatched to when you got a first clutch?
On soffers?
Yeah, on what you're talking about now.
I'm quite consistently on soffers getting clutches within 18 months.
So you get it from a female ball python, I
get from a female ball python out of the egg to on a clutch of eggs for sure within 24 months.
Within 24 months? Okay.
Yeah. Generally, I'm breeding them by 18 months.
I think there's some people, that we talked to too, like Joe from JSA. I know, like he swears that he saved himself by feeding ASFs, like gained 5 extra clutches because of the ASFs versus feeding rats.
I tend to think so too, and I think in this ball python game where we're trying to push the boundaries and get combos going as quick as possible. I mean, let's face it, that's what we do. If I can consistently get 20 females to produce eggs within 24 months, every 4 years, you're a full generation.
Sorry, Will. So if you're able to breed, you've bred females at starting to breed at 18 months and getting a clutch within 24 months, yeah?
Approximately, yeah. Not every time.
Okay.
That's obviously there's still ball pythons.
Absolutely. But with that, what sort of weight are you? I'm going to show you something in a second that will be interesting. Yeah. So
I find they're dropping their eggs. They're generally around that 2,500 gram range when they drop their eggs.
Okay. Right. So I'll show you this behind me. Yeah. So as I said, this entire room is 2021 females. Yeah.
Yep.
Something that I've noticed, and I've never noticed this before because I've never had an entire collection from the same age. Yeah. But this rack here, although everything in the room is 2021, these are all May of 2021. And out of the first rack of 52, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. There's 17 out of this first rack of 52 that have all now ovulated, yeah?
Right.
So the entire room has been breeding since November. This is the oldest rack out of 2021s. It seems to be, for me here right now, weight is having no factor whatsoever. I've got snakes on this side of the room which are heavier than the ones that are ovulating now.
Yeah, I think we tend to, as a market, give an arbitrary weight of 1,500 grams, and that's that's really your ball python beginner breeder 101. Pair your male at 1,000, pair your female at 1,500. Wait 3 years, feed it every week.
Okay, but the interesting thing here is everything in this rack was hatched in May 2021. The next column would be the first week in June, then the second week in June,
and then July's,
all the way through until we get over this side. Yeah. So these are September, October hatch from 2021.
Okay.
I mean, it's a bit too early to say at the moment, but it seems a bit weird that out of 341 females, it's only so far the oldest, and we're talking weeks. So we're talking the only ones that have ovulated so far were hatched in May, and there's now 2 that were hatched in June 2021.
Right. So, which makes sense.
It does make sense, but it completely
maturity is probably more important than size.
Yeah. So it does away with everything to do with the weight limit. As I say, I've got snakes on the other side.
Although you can bring the weight back. You're not going to get a clutch out of a 700 gram female, right? She's probably not going to go. But a female who is 13, 14, a female who's 13 or 1400 grams, generally you can end up getting a clutch back.
I think it was 900 grams or something. I don't know. I did post a video up, but anyway.
Yeah. I've had some really small stuff give clutches. Now, they're not 9 or 10 egg clutches. No. I honestly, I don't have any way to back this up. I'd have to go back and really crunch all the numbers. But it felt like last year, feeding everything ASFs, it felt like every female gave me almost an extra egg. It was almost like there was just that much. I got those clutches. I don't have any way to quantify that.
Well,
I guess I could really go back, and there's so many variables within things, right? But
but I thought they said every year a girl goes, she gives you a bigger clutch anyway.
Well, yes and no. Yes and no. I've had girls that have laid 13 eggs, and then the following year they lay 9. Following year they lay 11. So it's back and forth. It's not across the board.
Genuinely,
to me, I think snakes grow faster on rats than ASF for sure, in my experience.
I
feed bigger meals though, because you feed small meals, so that's the difference too.
Yeah, males get small meals. Females get standard. 130 grams is where I kind of draw the line.
I feed
what I'm going to feed, rat or ASF.
No problem. I'll feed 300 gram
feed
rats
what?
to my snakes. 300 gram rats to my snakes.
300? Yeah, I'd rather feed two meals at 120 gram. It's just a easier meal for them to digest, I think.
So have any of you guys done have you done any of the research on as far as like the nutritional requirements of ball pythons, as far as like protein, fat, vitamins, and minerals that they require, and how does that compare to ASF versus rats? If you have, like, which one do you think overall provides more nutritional value, not just putting on weight and gaining fat and having the female with her childbearing hips, etc., but the overall healthier snake that's gonna live the longest and maybe have 5 clutches his entire lifetime, let's just say that. Have you guys done any research on that? And if you have, what do you think is like the more nutritional animal?
Troy already answered that question when he talked about his snake shit. He rarely gets any from ASFs. ASFs are more nutritional balanced than a rat. I could pull up the veterinarian study on rats that I sent you earlier yesterday about it, and I could prove what that nutritional is. Hasn't been done on African soft furs or multi mice/rats or whatever they're called scientifically, so there's no need to. They aren't used productively in scientific research, so that's why they're not going to be studied like that. Now, people have said, "Oh, why don't we just send them in? Go for it. Go pay that $12,000 to get that one rodent tested for everything that you want to test it for." But overall, ASFs are more absorbed into the snake, and it's been proven between rats or ASFs or mice or even quail. There are multiple people who will tell you that when they feed rats, their snakes do give you bigger shits. I have it. I feed frozen thaw rats in the summertime when I need to big girls. I'll feed them frozen thaw rats, and they'll give me massive shits. You feed ASFs, their shits are tiny, if any. They absorb more. They got no freaking hair left when they shit it out. There's no weird part tails coming out. It's all absorbed, and anyone with ASFs can attest to that.
Yeah, it's cut down on cleaning time in the snake room and cleaning time in the rat room. And to be honest, that piece right there was enough to switch. Regardless of anything else, the less work in the rat room that counts as 5 points, because I don't want to spend my day in the rat room. You're not having easy, quick cleans. That counts as 5 points.
No, you're not having 5 points. You can possibly have extra points if you're breeding your females at 18 months. That's worth extra points.
Yeah, I mean,
how often are you cleaning the tubs, Will?
ASF tubs? Every 5 days. Sorry, I go once a week.
Clean that much?
Once a week.
Oh, that's what I'm gonna say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because rats you got to clean every 2 days, but I didn't think ASFs you had to clean that.
Oh, ASFs you can go like, if you wanted to, you could go every 10 days. But I just like to keep the room fresh and clean. Yeah, I think they appreciate being cleaner.
I do every 2 weeks since they're outside, and like when I found out with ASFs, they like poop and pee in the same corner.
Yep.
And then when you have one who decides to like veer away from that, they kick his ass.
Yeah, rat tubs. I would dump the bin of small rats out and then go to clean that tub. And I had to have like a drywall scraper to like scrape the shit off the insides of the tubs. Where the ASF tubs, I literally just take the tub and like flip it upside down. It's still dry, so it all just falls right out, and the tub looks brand new in the bottom. One little corner, little bit of paper towel, and like
if you're doing once a week, that's my rats are the same as that. If I do them once a week,
yeah.
If I do them once a week, I can just tip the tub and everything falls out. But at the moment, I'm cleaning my rats every 2 weeks.
Hey, chat, how
every
often
2
do you
weeks.
guys, hey, in the chat, put down how often you clean your rodent cages, whether you put rats, ASFs, put in the chat, and let me see how many, how often you guys clean.
In the summer, I go back to once a week, but in the winter, I've dropped it every 2 weeks.
I think there's a lot of variables in cleaning too, like whether people use just pine or if they use pine and they also mix in like pellet, or some people I know mix in like the Anna, you can help me out here. Like it's the stuff I think they throw in like horse things to help eat ammonia or some shit.
Oh, the dust. I know.
The pine pellets.
Yeah,
Okay.
or like the dust stuff. Like I think there's
I
a
just
lot
use
of
straight
variables to
pine
how people
shavings.
clean too. Yeah, so I mean we're pretty much just pine shavings, and Lisa cleans our rat room. We clean our rat room about every 4 days or so, 4 or 5 days. And then the ASFs I do once a week. Usually it's just every 7 days.
Yeah. I just, it takes two guys. We get that room done in about 5 hours. One guy's prepping bins, and I'm just swapping out colonies and transferring weans. But in about 5 hours, and cost as well. We're producing about 12 to 1,400 a week, and my total bill is about $350 a week in
When you
food.
say you take, what's that? The biscuit and the bedding.
Biscuit, yeah, your food, bedding, and then I use like whole corn, cat food, and a bird seed.
Okay, that's.
Hey, so in you guys' area, so retail wise, so I mean, like I won't say retail, but like if you were gonna like sell your ASFs to other breeders in the area, what are they going for as far as adults right here? Because here in North Carolina, I get them for $2 a piece, my adults, but I get them delivered from Delaware. But the pet store here is $7.99 regardless of size. So I get it
That's
for
insane.
Yeah, I mean, what we
where
advertise ours for, and obviously some people depending on what they buy, and I only supply one guy, weekly, and that's JD. But our ASS, like, like a small is 250, a medium is 3, a jumbo is 4.
So, rats for the win there on price, yeah? Do we all agree that?
Yeah, rat wise, like, yeah,
Rats cost more here in California. Rats are expensive.
yeah, but California's stupid.
Yeah, you're in California. That's just.
Texas rodent prices are fucking stupid, rats or ASFs. And you got some crackhead in Dallas trying to sell ASFs for $28 for an adult for his line bred.
I'm sorry, who?
Some crackhead in Dallas.
No, for how much?
$28 for specific line bred rodents. And I'm thinking, like, I felt like I gave you some of my rats when you were first starting off. I feel, what is this shit?
Do they speak Spanish? What the fuck is
No,
$28 for?
it's just he breeds like pure white rats, like my Snow White rats, and he's got the little raccoon ones, and he's like, if they look cute, they're $28. Females are $30. And I said, get fucked. I'm not paying that. I'll pay $1 for a rat in Oklahoma if I buy bulk for $1,000 if for whatever reason I need them. But when I sold ASFs, it was a 1-3 and it was $55. And usually one of the females was pregnant and gave you a litter within like 3 days after you got one from me.
You sold a 1-3 for how much?
55.
55?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow! I got up my face. Holy shit! I've been selling
doing something wrong.
ready to go colonies of 1.4 for $12.
See, I wish that would prices in Texas, but no, people in Texas are crack addicts for whatever reason when it comes to prices.
Do all of the major rodent websites, do they also sell ASF? So I know there's Cold Blooded Cafe, there's Rodent Pro.
Yeah, Rodent Pro has ASFs.
There's Hair Today. There's I'm not whoever, they're not paying me, so I'm not gonna just name everybody. But but do they all provide ASFs as well, or how hard is it to get frozen ASFs like ordered?
You have to Google it. You definitely
Yeah,
have
I'm
to
just
Google
pulling it up right now.
I know there's someone in Canada that has them. She sells them really
the beauty
cheap.
I think about ASFs is the majority of keepers, like the majority of people have under 200 snakes. Like 200 snakes is a lot of snakes. And so the majority of people could feed their entire collection and the majority of their babies with one 50 bin colony rack and one grow out rack. Two racks in their garage feed their entire collection. So that to me, and then the smell of having them in your house or in your garage or anything like that, I think they're just so much more efficient as far as breeding that I can't go back now. I'm just like, this is
I mean, the
I've
only
seen
plus
too good of
about
results to
ASF,
go back.
the
What's
plus
that?
about ASF also, they don't outgrow your colony. They never outgrow your ball
Right.
python.
When you go to feed them out, you just feed them out.
Point.
You can
That's
feed
a
them
point.
to
So what is it, like
anything.
8 to
I'll
2
concede that point
ASF?
as well.
Yeah,
But to me, like I said, the ASFs are easy all around. Yeah, definitely. But the debate was about nutritional. Is it better feeding them ASF versus rats? And no one can say that.
yeah. Honestly, that
One's
to me
better
is
than the other.
I think that's pretty well a wash.
Yeah,
That's a push. That are snakes going to grow and breed and do well on rats? Yes, for sure. Are snakes going to grow and breed and do well on ASS? Yeah, for sure. It just for me
yeah,
the big one is my time, not so much
because even Levant's proves on mice.
For sure.
He feeds 4,000 gram snakes on mice, giving them 13, 14, 15 egg clutches. So if you feed them right, at the end of the day, it's all good for them to eat. You know.
But there's been breeders who have done 2 seasons where they fed clutch mates, 3 clutch mates here, 3 clutch mates here, where it's been ASFs and rats. And the ones who had ASFs not only grow larger, but not like bulked up fat, but they grow larger and they look different. And I can attest to that.
But that's your experience, Anna, because it's not. I've had the opposite, where I fed a snake clutch mates 2 ASF versus 1 rat, and the 1 rat eater grew faster and produced a bigger clutch.
But you're also feeding 300 gram rats.
Say it again?
You're also feeding 300 gram rats to adult bipods.
To 4,000 gram snakes. I can do that. I got that from Mark Bailey's the one that told me that. I learned that from Mark Bailey, and he's an OG.
That explains a lot.
I don't feed rats that big. I mean, can it be done? For sure. That's just my personal preference. I mean, everyone's gonna do what they do, right? Breed. Keep your collection however you keep your collection.
You might like your
totally
snakes
fine.
rare. I might like my snake well done. So it doesn't. Everyone has their likings and does how they like to do it.
Yeah, I mean, a ball python has existed for a long time in the wild.
Exactly.
For sure.
If it wants to eat an adult rat, it will take it. If it doesn't,
for sure.
They're not going to kill themselves. They're not stupid. But I mean, out of interest, this is now probably about 15 years ago. I had someone dropped off some of their collection. They were moving house, and they dropped off one of the snakes hadn't fed, and it was a honeybee. So back then, 15 years ago, that was actually a high value snake. This snake wouldn't feed at all. I couldn't get it to feed.
Wait. Some of these new kids don't know what a honeybee is, so it's a hypo spider.
Hypo spider, yeah.
Yeah, it's a spider ghost. Them motherfuckers sold for a lot of money, believe it or not.
Yeah. So this particular snake, I couldn't get it to feed live mice, live rats, gerbils, anything. It wouldn't feed. And over a period of time, this is the first time I ever looked at a snake and thought, this snake's going to die. So I phoned the guy up and said, look, what do you want to do? And he said, well, you know what you're doing. If it won't feed, it won't feed. And just out of interest, I offered it an adult ex-breeder rat. Yes, it was an adult female honeybee. Had previously produced a clutch.
You smoked it?
It took it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I then looked at and thought, and if anybody's got experience, quite often if something hasn't fed for a long time, if it eats a big meal, that often wipes them out because they haven't got their stomachs not ready to digest. Mm-hmm. Incredibly, it digested. It took it. It digested it. It was fine. It fed on, I think it was 3 jumbo rats over about a 4-week period. It then ovulated because I'd been putting a male in to try to stimulate it to feed. It then ovulated and laid a clutch of eggs. So it'd gone from literally looking on death's door. That it was that bad. It had 3 jumbo rats, ovulated, laid a clutch of eggs, and from then on in it was fine.
Most definitely. The snakes know what they want, though. At the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean they're not.
Mike.
They're not stupid.
Hey, so
but Mike, you said earlier. Just real quick. Mike said earlier, that he was feeding, like 1 rat to 2 ASFs to clutch mates. I don't necessarily think that experiment works because obviously I've fed an entire clutch of nothing but rats and have different sized clutch mates. So I don't know point.
Okay, you guys are saying that snakes grow faster on ASF versus rats. So
No, I didn't.
how can you prove that?
I didn't say
Yeah,
it. I said
I mean, I
they
think
grow.
in some of Will's experience, he's had that. They've got to a breedable weight quicker than maybe on rats. But I'm just saying I don't think that experiment works.
Okay, well, that's
Troy,
your opinion.
what
I say it does
experiment would
work.
you say would quantify that? So I mean, I'll come out the closet a little bit. This season, I have started producing.
Here we go.
This different closet, Will, not your closet.
I was about
This
to say,
is-
girl.
I will know Will's secret. Look at him. Anyway, I love you, Will. This year I've started producing ASFs, and I was going to run a trial of about 30 to 40 of this year's hatchlings on ASFs versus rodents, and I was going to weigh the rodents going in, and I was going to weigh the growth, the snakes as they grow. Is that worth doing as a trial, do you think, or
What's the sample size?
I was going to do around about 40.
Yeah, I'd say that's good enough. I did about 2 years ago. I fed one rack ASFs for a year.
We spoke about this and we highlighted some flaws in that, Will. Do you remember?
For sure. There's I mean, this isn't a science experiment, right? I'm just feeding snakes in tubs. I mean, really, we're just seeing what happens. But in that one rack, I had a lay rate. I think it was 88% of the females that were bred laid. Now, again, this is a rack of 3-year-old virgin females who are fed for a full year. So would I have gotten that same production on rats? Probably. I think I got like 28 out of 32 girls. I bred 32 girls and 28 produced a clutch. Would I have gotten that same thing on rats? Probably. I'm now I've raised about 200 or so, 200 girls on ASFs exclusively, and I actually tried a little experiment. I brought in 150 rats, normal rats. These snakes have never even seen a rat. After 2 years of eating ASFs exclusively, all 150 rats were fed out, no problem at all. So I had this. Everyone was said like, oh, once they eat ASFs, they'll get stuck on them, and that's bullshit. A bad eater is a bad eater. There's a reason why back in the day, people referred to, oh, that snake eats ASFs. It's a bad eater. Yeah, it's only eating ASFs. It won't eat your stinky rats.
So do you feel that you feel that you'll have a responsibility to disclose whenever you feed solely ASFs or something on ASFs to
anything I sell,
or
for sure,
it's not necessary?
For sure, I'll let people know whatever they're feeding. And in fact, over the past year, I've had an overwhelming amount of customers reach out and say, "Hey, I know you're feeding ASFs. Can you make sure you're feeding mine ASFs?" Right. The one that they bought. And I'm like, "Oh shit, yeah, sure, no problem. That's easy for me." And yeah, I just move it over one rack, and that rack gets ASFs. And I don't know. I mean, I have all the 2021s are all in that at least 1,500 to 2,000 gram range on ASFs.
Right. So with my inventory, I kind of just feed a variety of things. Stuff I know it's going for sale because I know I have people who buy stuff from me that eats ASF, some that eat like Norways, some that do pre-killed and frozen thawed. So a lot of times in my inventory, I kind of just switch it out and just to make sure I got, some solid babies, some solid sub-adults that's kind of taking care of all of those prey items, and I don't have to worry about it. So in most cases, I don't even say if it's on ASFs, I just don't even post it. You know what I mean? And if they have issues, then we'll deal with them. But I really don't see the need to.
Yeah, I've had no issues with getting them back and forth, switching back and forth between them.
Yeah,
I figured I'd try it because they'd been 2 years of never even seeing a rat from the day they came out of the egg to producing a clutch, never eaten a rat. And I just pop a rat in and they grab it.
I think you're right. I'm currently feeding mice as well as rats at the moment because I'm short of rats. So we're feeding quite often every week, every 2 weeks. We will do a whole round of everything. We'll take adult mice, and we have no problems switching between rats and mice.
Speaking
No,
of which,
I
let's
don't think
go.
so.
Let's go around real
So-
quick.
Yeah.
Hey, Anna, do you ever feed mice? And if so, like, what circumstance do you get prompted to feed mice?
Fuck no. I don't feed mice.
Never. What about
No.
you, Mike? Any mice at all?
Yeah, I do. I breed mice. So I had a couple of snakes they just stopped eating. So they
So
end
how's
up
it?
they went on mice and then they switched right back to rat. So
So how do they
I have
fare
no,
how do they fare in the extremes of ASFs to Norways to you then? Are they fall somewhere in the middle or way worse than any of them, or it's like a last resort
mice.
thing? Yeah.
I think mice are the worst. They smell the worst too.
Troy?
They smell way worse than rats.
I don't feed any mice.
Will? No mice at
I,
all?
I just the way I look at it is I have no need to feed mice when you have ASFs.
Well,
They're
Right.
basically a giant mouse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I agree with you on that, Will.
So
So you know what's
start all
funny
my
though too?
hatchlings off on mice, and then
Have you ever had a snake
Okay.
refuse an ASF, Will?
Oh yeah, for sure. They're still ball pythons.
So like they just stuck like I had a couple of snakes when I tried ASF that they only wanted rats. They would not touch the ASF at all.
Yeah, the trick is for me has been getting them on ASFs right out of the egg, and
Yeah.
that's all they've been offered ever, and they do totally fine. Yeah,
Right.
not had
My-
any issues at all. And if I were having issues, like I would be addressing them because I don't want to have issues. Right, more efficiency the better.
My
And-
Volta will not touch the ASF.
Well, your Voltas
Yeah.
won't.
Want nothing to do with them at all, which is weird.
Yeah,
as fuck, but-
big females. I don't have
Yeah.
anything that will refuse ASFs. I mean, I still have snakes that refuse food in general. That's
Yeah.
just they're ball python. That's what they're gonna do. But I've not had many issues with the softwares at all. I would say I had more issues with rats. And I used to hate when you'd have the coconut in the tub. You put the rat in, and then you'd open it, and all the coconut stuffed in the water bowl. And then there's like the little rat turds all over the place in the tub. That just no. It's more for me than anything, to be honest. It's more for
Now-
me than anything. It's just easier to clean.
Do you
So-
find the ASFs are more aggressive to the snakes, or
No, I'd say less.
I agree with that because I've messed up years ago and left like weaned rats in there with snakes and they like burrowed under the coconut and I like walked away and didn't realize they were still in there until I heard some rustling in the tub and I've seen a freaking snake spine exposed because a weaned rat tried to bite it and I've messed up before and had ASFs in there for almost a day and a half and no issues at all. They probably like chewed the plastic on the water bowl and that was it. So
Wait.
even and they can be assholes, I think. But my colonies are pretty decent as far as like being human aggressive. But I haven't had any issue with ASFs attacking the snakes at all.
I would
I
say
don't have
that,
anything aggressive in mine either.
yeah, I don't find that the ASFs are aggressive. I almost like the ASFs recognize the situation they've been put in, where the rats don't. Like when I would feed rats, they'd land in the tub and then like run right to the back, nose to nose with the snake. If the snake didn't grab it, they'd walk on its back. They'd climb all over the tub. They're like, what is this rat doing? Like, and the snake gets stressed to shit. They're like, what the fuck? You put this giant rat in here with me. Where the ASF, I drop it in the tub and you can almost see in their eyes, they're kind of like, I'm fucked. Like I'm in trouble. And they just freeze in the corner right before the water bowl and the snake just, they get smoked.
Oh, give me.
yeah, see, that's potentially for the UK. Will that's 1 point down of so over here there's a misconception in the UK that live feeding is illegal. Yeah, so you'll hear a lot of people talk about live feeding is illegal in the UK. It's not. It is legal, but you absolutely can be prosecuted for it. Yeah.
Oh wow.
So although it's legal, you can be prosecuted. So it's
How does that work?
They'll prosecute you on unnecessary suffering. So you have to demonstrate that you are, when you're feeding, you're doing everything. You've got strict protocols that eliminate the stress for the rodent. So
like a spa day. What the fuck you mean?
a little spa day. You take it out. You talk nicely to it. But if you was to put a rodent in with a snake, and the rodent is in the corner saying to itself it's fucked, yeah. In other words, it's stressed. It can tell. In the UK, technically, you'd have to remove that rodent and try another one because you're causing unnecessary suffering.
But Thank God I don't live in the UK because they're, yeah. I mean, I generally
hold on. You're in Canada. Don't even go.
Yeah,
there.
fair enough. It's not much better, to be honest.
It's just the northern United States.
Yeah.
I generally tongue feed live anyway. Grab by the scruff of the neck with tongs and just put it in front of the snake, off the tongs, clean strike. They get the side of the head, nice wrap on the rat, and it's over. For the majority of my collection, I would say I tongue feed for the majority. There's days I get lazy and I just like flop them in, shut the bins, wait an hour, check them, and I've not had any issues with
Dude,
with ASFs. As far as the aggression on them towards the snakes, nothing.
I learned the scruff of the neck thing from I don't know if it's pythons or it's pythons, but they told me that at we were talking at Justin's place. They were talking about grabbing them by the scruff and they kind of like go like almost like limp and dead. So I tried it when I got home and that was pretty dope. You do that with a Norway rat, they'll fucking slice the shit up.
Yeah, they'll spin around and try and bite the tongs.
But if you grab an ASF by a scruff, like you do like a puppy or stuff like that, it just goes.
Yeah. I find the ASFs have a lot of quit in them. Once they're grabbed, they just give up. They just like, you ever like catch a baby bunny or like a bunny? You pick up a bunny and they're like, okay, I'm dead. Just get it over with. Like,
all right, guys, we just passed the hour mark, so I want to go around one more time for the closing arguments. For your case, and I'm gonna say something at the end, and then we'll get up out of here. So, Anna, you got anything to add that hasn't been talked about yet?
I do, Scott. When you do your experiment this year, don't just go by weight. Look at the coloration of your snakes when you're doing it for ASFs versus rats. I promise you'll notice a difference between the colors on your rodents or the snakes that you feed ASFs versus rats, like how they hold the color and how they'll look. I guarantee it. I put money on it.
So obviously, I'll be splitting each clutch. So if I do the same genes versus the same genes.
Okay.
You're saying that I will see a difference in the coloration.
You'll see a difference. Yeah. Color and just how it's expressed. You'll see a clear difference to it.
I'm skeptical, but I'm open-minded. I will certainly have a look.
Scott, any more safe rounds about rats you want to say before we go?
Yeah. I think the same as Will. I don't think in the grand scheme of things, feeding rats or feeding ASFs, in the grand scheme of things, will make no difference to your collection. But behind the scenes, I will concede that ASFs are easier and more pleasant to produce.
Right.
We won.
To me, my big two extremes between the two. So ASFs, if you're gonna produce your own rats, it's way easier to produce ASFs, I would think. But if you're just buying your rodents, it's cheaper to buy Norways in most cases. In most areas, Norways are a lot cheaper than ASFs from what I've seen so far. So those are the two extremes that I usually deal with too. If I want to produce my own, I do ASF stuff on the buy rat. You know what I mean? So, Mike, any more safe rounds?
No, like you said, to me, it's a rodent's a rodent at the end of the day. ASF, hands down, are the easiest thing to breed on your own. But like Norways are more accessible and easier to get in all 50 states.
That's for sure.
Troy.
I'm going to say my opinion base is this. I believe in a consistency of feeding. So if you feed a rat, it doesn't eat. If you feed it an ASF and it eats, then your animal ate. I believe you should just feed it consistently, whatever that meal really is. And so that's really all I'll add. And to Scott's experiment and to Anna's point, Scott, I will say this, again, opinion-based. I feel like if I have two snakes side by side that's ate nothing but rats and nothing but ASFs, I feel like my ASF snake is almost firmer versus like my other snake being almost fat, squishy, right? So not saying that's perfect or that it's that way all the time, but I have noticed a little bit of that myself within my own collection.
Well, I'll tell you what, Troy, when you get a passport, because I'm guessing you're one of the 76% who hasn't got a passport. When you get a passport, yeah?
Yes.
Have you got a passport, just out of curiosity?
It's expired.
Hey, I was right. Yeah. When you get a passport, Troy, and you decide that you're actually going to come over to Europe and come to Ham with me, yeah?
I'm going to do that.
You'll come here and I'll show you some of those ones in the experiment and you're going to be able to tell me which ones are which.
I'm going to do my best. And if I fail, I will just say that I have a GED.
Will.
My opinion is if you value your time and don't want to spend copious amount of hours in a rat room, breed ASFs. Your snakes. It's not gonna make a big difference, I don't think, as far as how quickly things grow. I think it's gonna be fairly consistent across the board. Yeah, I think you might have the slight nod towards ASFs, in my opinion. Realistically, we're really splitting hairs here. They're ball pythons. You can feed them drumsticks if you want to. If they're eating, let them eat. But for me, it just comes down to my time and not wanting to spend a lot of time in a stinky ass rat room. So ASFs win, and that outweighs all the other benefits to rats for me.
And also too, I just want to add to the newer people in the chat too, and people who's going to watch this in the future. You know, not only what you're putting into your snakes as far as like rats or ASFs, but just be mindful of what you're putting into those feeders as well, as far as their nutrition, what you're feeding them. Try to get, you know, the best food possible that you can afford, and make sure they have a quality water supply as well. So a lot of times people overlook that, and that's something I can't stress enough, that I've seen people have rats with like crappy water supplies, and you know, just real mediocre food that like they barely, you must be feeding your damn animal kicks, you know. And no matter what you feed, if you're feeding junk to that feed item and you feed that to your snake's gonna look like shit. It's not gonna produce the way you want it to. So, but I did this debate because I saw too many videos coming across trying to learn more about ASFs. A lot of people who were like, they were like their very first season breeding ever, and they emphatically saying one way or the other, like rats are so much better for this, or ASFs are so much better for that. And it was just pretty much people that were around other people and just regurgitating information that they found online or whose wing they were under. And yes, that's a direct shot to a specific YouTuber. But yeah, so I just something I just didn't like, man. And I figured we kind of do this, and I figured this is exactly the way it would go. You know, we kind of have a good stalemate as far as like the benefits of both. But I appreciate all you guys being here, man. Hey, make sure you guys follow them on their respective socials and at AK Morphs, Steve Wilkinson, Reptiles, Insane Clown, Pythons, Best Dressed Balls, Royal Canadian Reptiles. This is Antoine Hood from High Desert Pythons. Appreciate you guys for all love, support. Like, share, subscribe. And look, I'm going to do this every Tuesday. I want to, at least a couple Tuesdays a month, some debates. So message me about some debates you want to do and think of some good opponents. We'll do this for an hour, have a good time, have some friendly debate, have some laughs, and call it a day, okay? Till next time, guys. Deuces.
See you guys.